sharing. This is a very positive development which we cannot deny and we cannot belittle. Let us look at the issue of water. 8,000 communities have been provided with water by the federal government in the last 2 years. 45 major towns have been provided with water. Massive irrigation schemes, have been implemented, throughout the country.
Are you really not policy statements?
No, I'm not.
Or you went monitoring this?
It's very, very important. I have researched it. I have researched it. I have gone to cross-check a number of these things myself, and it is remarkable. Right. Again, let me stick to the water. Really, it would surprise you to hear that the irrigation schemes also acts as a catalyst for the agro-allied industry, all over the country. Now, in the northern part of Nigeria alone, would you believe that 151 billion naira in the northern part of the country has been spent on irrigation projects alone, just for the north? That is a remarkable achievement. More boreholes have been dug by this federal government throughout the federation than any previous government in Nigeria's history. Let's look at roads. People say nothing has happened. That's not true. 266 billion naira has been spent on the reconstruction and construction of roads throughout the country. 6,000, that is for 6,000 kilometers worth of roads.
Where are the roads?
Where are the roads?
How did you get here?
Yeah. It's a good question. Before I come to that, let me just again clarify this on the roads.
Okay.
Some have argued that it has not been, a spread, it has not been evenly spread throughout the federation. Some have said it's happening in the southwest, it's happening in the south-south, it's not happening in that area. It's not true. If you look at the Ibrahim Ayagi report, that is the chairman of the National Intelligence Economic Committee, you look at that report, you will find there is an even spread when it comes to road construction and road reconstruction throughout the country. The fact of the matter is, if you actually to look at it closely, more roads have been constructed and reconstructed in the northwest. That is number one. Then you go to the south-south, and bottom of the list comes the southwest. So if you're asking where the roads are, what I would suggest for you to do, and others that may question it, is to actually, take the pains of going to go and look for them. And you will see that some things are actually being done. Let's talk about foreign debt. $5 billion out of our vast foreign debt has been paid by this government in the last 3 years. That is not bad at all. Again, let's look at our foreign exchange reserves. The standard form is to keep it for 3 months. Keep 3 months supply of foreign exchange. Okay? This government is keeping 6 months foreign exchange reserves just in case of any eventuality. That is not bad. Talk about industry. The industrial capacity output in the manufacturing industry, when he came in, 25% output. It is now 55% to 60% output. It's not bad at all. We could go on salaries. Let me talk about salaries. At the end of each month, this government pays 30 billion naira in salaries alone. That's not bad at all. Of the 30 billion naira that is paid on salaries, and they're regularly paid, 5 billion of that goes to pensions. That is not bad at all. When you consider the fact that before, pensions, were never paid. You talk about petrol flow at the station, plenty of petrol now, you do not have queues anymore. And perhaps even more excitingly, we can talk about the development in the gas sector. If what the government is doing is allowed to proceed for the next 2 years, you will find that we are going to derive more funding, more money, almost twice as much funding from our gas reserves than we are getting presently from our oil reserves. That is an achievement. Let's talk about GSM. Let's talk about NITO, Globalcom. Security. A lot of people complain about that, and it is not perfect. But the fact of the matter is this: 40,000 policemen have been recruited every year since Obasanjo has come into power. I'm not sure what part of the country you're from, but if you go to Bayelsa State, there's a place called Nembe there. When this government came into power, I hope I got the pronunciation right. Anyway, when the federal government came to power, nobody, that is no policeman, no soldier, nobody could enter that area. It was impassable for anybody that was not part and parcel of maybe the Egbesu cult or whatever it is that operates in that part of the country. It was a no-go area for anybody. The federal government has come in. Now people can go there. The place is being administered by the state government and is now part and parcel of Nigeria again. That is also an achievement. University lecturers. I don't want to bore you, but let us get this clear. University lecturers, they were getting about 15,000 naira per month when this government came into power. They're now getting about 100, 115, 120,000 naira per month. And they are being paid regularly. This is an unprecedented achievement. GDP growth rate, we're hitting 3.5%. It's not perfect. And in fact, we need to do better there. But this is a fact on the ground. So it's
I could sit down here and listen to you all day, but I really like to take you
and that's just the national
on a case by case on these things, but I will leave it for the audience. But there's one thing that you said which has just knocked me over. The case of debt. indebtedness to external countries. You talk about 5 billion being paid on the foreign debt. What is this question about suspension of the payment of debt?
That's a very, very good question, and it's an important question too. Let us be very clear about what's going on here. President Obasanjo has fought more than any other third world or African head of state for the issue of debt rescheduling, debt cancellation, and debt review. And it is in that context that these issues are being raised, the issue of debt cancellation and debt suspension. It's very, very important, because what's happening here is that the IMF, the World Bank, they come in, they demand all kinds of things of our governments. They are literally pulling the strings, conditionalities of all sorts, and then we end up paying more. We end up paying more on the interest alone than rather the principal sum. And he has said this is completely unacceptable for third world and African governments to have to contend with. And this again is one of the areas that I think we have to commend the president for taking that initiative. He's chairman of G77 today, and quite apart from that, and again, of course, he's fighting that corner. He's fighting the issue of debt rescheduling from that perspective, and from that corner, you talk about the issue of inequitable trade terms in the world. Obasanjo has fought more than anybody else to try and rectify the lack of equity that exists in that sector. Look at the facts and figures. 20 years ago, Africa was responsible for 20% of international trade. That is a figure that was given by Jack Straw, the British foreign minister, recently. Okay, today it is now 1%. This is absolutely, it's frightening. And Obasanjo is trying very, very hard to create more equitable trade terms. How is he doing that? The NEPAD initiative is one way. The creation and establishment of the African Union is another way. The insistence that subsidies, for example, for example, American agricultural products, they're subsidizing their farmers by $357 billion per year.
Let us try and make comparables comparable.
Yeah, the reason I said that is because it's very relevant, because I'm talking about his fight against this type of inequitable situation. He has said, and he's right, that if you remove that $57 billion per year that the American government is using to subsidize its farmers, you will wipe out 1/4 of the poverty that exists on the world today. Why? Because African farmers, particularly Nigerian farmers, European farmers, and farmers from all over the world will be able to now also find a work, compete with American farmers, and the world will also, be a dumping ground for our own, agro-allied products. These are things that the president, in his wisdom, has seen and he's fighting against. And he's getting a lot of opposition from outside and inside because of this position that he has adopted.
I'll leave. But if they made quite a success of all this, why do they have to go a second term?
Well, you never start something that you will not finish. The fact of the matter is that we have only got probably a quarter of the way, not even halfway yet. All these statistics that I've reeled out to you, they're clearly not good enough. The Nigerian people deserve better, and they will get the very best by the end of the second term that Obasanjo will serve. We have this interview again, and I hope that we will. You will find that these figures, these statistics are very, very small compared to what he would have achieved by the second term. And I think that is the whole idea of having an Obasanjo Atiku, initiative to continue.
So that's the focus.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to my introduction. In my introduction, I said to you that the patriots, you don't have to define them anymore to you. They've given a full and serious consideration to a number of factors which are heating up the system. And these are relevancies that are heating up the system. Or the polity. They said Mr. President should reconsider his re-election bid come 2003. This is, they said, is for an overriding public interest. If I have to quote them again, is for the peace and stability of the nation. A little sacrifice, they said, which they're urging the president to make. Do you also see the merit in this suggestion?
I certainly do not see the merit in this suggestion. I think that it is a suggestion that is born out of lack of understanding of precisely what it is that President Obasanjo is attempting to achieve. I think it is a suggestion that is born out of pressures that are being brought to bear on leading members of the Patriots group from all over the country, from people that have a vested interest in returning to the status quo ante. I think that this decision that the Patriots have taken is as a consequence of such pressures. I think it's ill-informed. I think it's ill-timed. I think it's unconstitutional. And I think even the logic, it is flawed in logic. Let me give you an example of that. Let me give you an example of that. if you are saying that the president should have only 5 years, first of all, what you're telling us is that you see fit to deprive him of his right to run for a second term. That is illogical. He came in under the constitutional provision that he would